So this past weekend, I competed in the first ever Elestrals tournament, and might I say, I had a blast. Now, that might sound a bit shallow considering I did win the whole event, but just even if I had one, I did just genuinely enjoy playing against a bunch of people, just kind of partaking in the first tournament ever. That itself is monumental, and I am so thankful for that opportunity as well. And I just want to kind of give a quick tournament, not really quick. It's let's be real here. I ramble a lot. It's not going to be quick. I want to give a tournament wrap up here, and even more crucially, I did actually film a Steal the Spirits podcast right after the tournament with Moxie, who was one of the judges, and Helen, who helped create the bracket, or was the one who created the bracket, and it was in the background helping with the tournament itself. And unfortunately, as you'll see if you watch the SSP, there was an issue in the recording towards the end of the section of interviewing Moxie that things got messed up. So we actually had to cut my whole section from it. So I think it's even more important why to actually make this video, as that no longer is out there. But I do have the questions up in front of me so I can answer some of them, but also kind of go into a bit more detail than my answers were in the podcast. So with that being said though, let's get right into it. It's mostly just going to be me talking till the very end, so you can just kind of tune out and listen here. So first and foremost, I think great thing I already said I enjoyed the tournament, but what deck did I actually bring? Well, I had only two of the prototype decks, that being the Trifernal and the Centarbor one. And I chose to bring Centarbor, though I actually cut Centarbor completely from the deck for top 8, which I'll get to in a second. But the reason why I chose that deck was because when I was looking at the two decks, Fire is the Trifernal deck, is really powerful and can be really explosive if you see the right cards and your more aggressive cards. And you can just kind of blow your opponent away. But at the same time, it's just not as consistent and really relies on you being super aggro. If you can't keep up that aggro, you're just going to kind of fall behind and probably lose. So I really didn't want to tempt the inconsistency in the tournament, which is why I didn't choose it. And I also felt more comfortable with Earth, which was way more consistent. It had, I think, overall the better card quality, even if it couldn't do as insane stuff on the more one spirit level as the Trifernal deck did. Yes, it has Centarbor play, but that's not the most consistent. So that's why I opted to run that. And I also felt more comfortable because it was a very tempo-oriented deck. And I, as a Vanguard player, I am very comfortable playing tempo. So I decided to bring that, hoping for its consistency and my experience playing tempo to really shine. And I am very happy with how I actually performed there. I mean, obviously, since I won the tournament, I should be happy for that. But also, just kind of looking at the individual games, I felt really good about all my choices outside of my one loss in Swiss, which I'll get to in a second. But just looking back, even watching, I have some of it recorded, watching back on it, I feel really good about my plays. There was very few moments in the tournament, especially in top 8, which was surprising, where I felt that I missed something, that I should have kind of considered this. Every play I made intentionally. I accepted the risk and rewards, and I kind of saw what the outcomes could be. And I feel like all my reads were correct. And thankfully, all my reads were, for the most part, I think, the choices I made from those reads were also correct. And that's just a really good feeling. I felt like I really understood my deck, which to me, I think was more important than actually winning the whole tournament, is that I felt like I understood my deck, that I learned my deck. And that to me just feels more rewarding. And more breaking down, let's just start breaking down my actual run here. So there are 5 rounds of Swiss, and unfortunately, I do not have access to the challenge page anymore to get the accurate recreation, but I do know from those 5 rounds that I won the first 4 and lost in the 5th round, but at that point I had secured my place in top 8, so I wasn't too worried about it. But in those rounds, I know I believe I played 2 fire, I played 3 fire. No, I played 2 fire, 1 earth, 1 wind, 1 thunder. I'm pretty sure about that. And so my first match was against someone who's brand new to the game. So shout out to him, jumping in the deep end, just ready to play. Really love seeing that, even if it was a really uphill battle for him throughout the entire tournament. That was really exciting to see. Part of me that I was so excited. But really, I don't have much notable to say from the first 5 rounds. I felt really confident in my plays, and I think also part of it was that I was going up against people that are a bit less experienced than me, which did, from an experience level, give me definitely a slight edge to it. And it also the fact that I think I knew my deck a bit better than some of the people there as well. So it necessarily wasn't the fairest because I mean this is just supposed to be a fun tournament as well. So I don't want to say like, oh, they should have known their decks better. They're just there for fun. As long as they had fun, that's what matters. But I think that is why I don't really have much to say about the first 4 rounds. That I just kind of sat down, played the game, played my best, and I did end up winning those and didn't get high rolled into oblivion because that's what I was worried about with being best of one. That like my opponent would just stick a stratum off, I wouldn't have my answer, and I would just die from that because that's just kind of how prototype gameplay is. So, but from those games, of note, I do feel like I really did optimize my deck very well, which is very nice to see since we did have the 12 extra cards. That my main goal with really, I think Amy's main goal with Sealed should be to try to optimize the plays of their decks to the best of their ability, get the most out of them. And I said earlier that's what just learning it was most rewarding, and that was part of the learning process. So I feel really good about that. But the 5th round, though, so only 2 of us were undefeated. It was Jay, Johnny versus myself. And that round, I utterly lost. I have the recording. I don't know if I will post it because, frankly, it was just not. It was not a good game. Not because I lost it, but because the energy just wasn't there. If you all have seen gameplay versus Jay, Johnny, and I, especially on his channel, we bounce back and forth so well, and the gameplay flows so smoothly. There's great banter, and that just wasn't present for that game. It was just kind of a blowout. And the reason why was because I scheduled my COVID booster and flu shot for the day before, that night before the tournament. So while I felt fine when I woke up, by the time we got to the 5th round, I was hungry and I didn't realize till after the fact, but I was achy all over. I was not feeling well. So I just kind of burnt out in that final round there. And also, I didn't go into it I wanted to win, but I didn't go into it taking it too seriously. From the sense of I wasn't like, okay, I'm putting a ton of pressure myself to win, try to be focused. Like it just didn't matter. So I felt like I would be better to conserve my energy. I still tried my best though, because out of respect for Johnny as well. So in the end, I lost that one. Funny enough, Johnny did joke. He was just like, by the way, before the game, he's just like, by the way, Jacob, I'm running Leon. I thought you should know. And I was just like, I could see you just try to scare me with that and not actually run it, but I could also see you running that. He was trying to play mind games. Funny enough, he actually finished me off with the Leonite, which I think was very poetic there. I didn't try to play around it. I didn't try to not play as if it didn't exist, but I thought that was a funny note from there. So that was Swiss. Johnny ended up being undefeated there. And then Pure came in second because he had a better differential than me, despite us having the same record, and I came in third, both Pure and I having a 4-1 record, which is pretty nice to see. Pure is another player I was hoping to play and was scared to play against because he is also you're not scared to play against, excited and not sure if I could win because he's a really good player as well. So I did get to face him in Swiss. The only reason he was 4-1 was also because of Johnny. Funny enough, he lost to Johnny in the 2nd round. So there was just no chance of me playing Pure until the top 8 as well. So I think from there, discussing top 8, I was first paired up against someone playing Fire. Yes, it was someone playing Fire, and that game, I did win that one. I don't really have too many notes. There is the recording for it. I don't want to say it's the least hype. It's the one I least remember just because it's of the ones I recorded of top 8, that one's the oldest one. And I think there's a lot more tension that I kind of made it stick in my memory from top 4 and finals there. So I am planning on posting that. Definitely go watch it. I remember it at least being a good game, but I don't really have too much to say against it other than I knew against Fire, either Fire would get all its tools and it'd blow me out, or I'd be able to keep up tempo and win. And I was able to keep up tempo and ultimately win in that matchup. Shouts to my opponent. He was really good. And I definitely hope he comes back to play some more in the community, as I just love to see him continue to play, continue to get better, and have some rematches. It did feel like a good challenge there, even if there wasn't really anything that stood out for me to comment on here. Moving on to top four, though, actually, I should back up. Before top eight started, so how it would go is that if both Pure and I won our first matches, we would face each other in top four. And then whoever won our match, if as long as Johnny won, we would face each other in the finals. So it was kind of funny to see which one of us would get the right to get redemption on Johnny. And it was also nice because we were hoping to be able to play each other. But unfortunately, Pure did lose his top eight match. He explained to me later that he said he thought he made some misplays, but also that he just didn't really have the best draw. He low rolled. His opponent also seemed to high roll, and that was just kind of it. So getting into top four now, I had to face off against Silver Beanie, I believe his name was, playing Thunder. And I was a bit surprised Thunder got to that point because I don't actually rate the Thunder Pro type deck that highly. I really think Fire and Earth is where it's at. And in testing, Earth just kind of easily outstatted Thunder and could just kind of run over them. And I did proceed to do that in that match, funny enough. And it was really interesting because Pure was playing Earth as well, so it's kind of showing how low rolls can affect him. It's inconsistent. It was still best of one at this point, so it makes sense. And thankfully, I did not low roll myself and was able to really just keep up on that tempo and do exactly what I knew I could do against Thunder, and that's take advantage of my naturally higher stat line overall. And there's actually one very notable moment in there that I wanted to discuss. And I didn't know about this till after the fact, but I made a play as my second to last turn, and you'll be able to see it in the gameplay as well, or if you saw aDrive stream. But I still want to talk about it here because it's a big notable moment for me. So my opponent had a Thunderbolt equipped Spark Hit. It was at 6 attack. I can't remember if the stadium was up, but it's negligible in this scenario because either I think I set up Forest, or even if I didn't set up Forest, there would have been no stadiums pretty much. But the important thing here is that my opponent had a 6 attack Spark Hit. I threw in a set card. I put out Equal Links, and there was no response. I was like, okay, cool. It might be a shield. I can get rid of that now. And that was very much intentional because whatever answer I did, if he had the shield, it would have been game over. So Equal Links could out the shield. If he had the poison tip, it would be what it was. So I put out, and pretty much Equal Links was there to just get him to either destroy the rune, take care of the shield, or get him to use a poison tip, which I actually don't know if Thunder had a poison tip now that I think about it. I'm pretty sure it did. But anyway, pretty much what I did was, or I shouldn't even say poison tip, but my general thought process was that Equal Links regardless would bait out the counter rune, or I'd just get to destroy it with the shields. That is the better way to put it as well. I'm using poison tip as an example, and now I'm like trying to remember in the moment, but I remember the moment I did think poison tip and shield, but I specifically I'm see, as I say this now, I'm just like, did he play poison tip? Because I should have been paying attention to it. What did he play? What did the deck actually have? I'm pretty sure it had a poison tip. But I'm getting completely sidetracked here. Point is, the reason I made that play there was because if it was shield, Equal Links could out it before it became a problem. If it was another counter rune, then it just would go off anyway. I just needed to get my opponent either destroy it or get my opponent to use it. So I go Equal Links. I then throw out a Scythe onto it. I Nexus from Scythe onto Equal Links, popping the back row. And my opponent first thought I was going for Thunderbolt. I was like, no. I am going for your back row. Get rid of it. I think it was a shield. I honestly don't remember because in the end it didn't matter. But pretty much I did what I have this right. I don't remember all the details for it. But frankly, that part didn't even matter. I destroyed the back row. It was what it was. And then I set up a Demeter with 2 spirits, disenchanted 1, pumped Equal Links up to 7 attack, tapped over the Spark Hit, dealing 2 spirit damage. Now on stream, Dan highlighted that he thinks that it was a misplay, that what should have happened was I enchanted Demeter with 3, Nexus 1, 2 Equal Links, destroy the back row, equipped Scythe, and still be able, and then disenchant 1 from Demeter to be able to hit over, because in that play I would get 2 spirits back from the Scythe, but I would have to use 1 extra for the Demeter. So really, the overall play would have used the same cards. It would have cost me 1 less spirit in the end, but I also would have dealt 1 less damage. And while it still is debatable whether or not, I still think there is worthwhile debate whether or not that's the correct play. In the end, my play worked out exactly how I planned it because I was at a higher spirit count than my opponent at that point, so I wasn't worried about spirit efficiency. The other reason why I chose to give up on the scythe was because I wanted to, one, deal more damage to my opponent to try to close out the game, but two, I didn't feel the need to keep equal links at higher stat lines because my opponent had already been through it. That was his second spark hit. And I knew the chances of having the third one plus anything to kind of hit over it was pretty low. So the best he could probably do was crash, and I still would be at the advantage. And just in general, most likely, equal links at 4 attack would have been able to survive regardless. So I just wanted to try to close it out. And that was really notable for me because it literally worked. I took that risk. I had my reasonings for it, and it did pay off. And I accepted the consequence there, but it did pay off there because I was right. He didn't have the answer to equal links. He threw a foamy in defense. Past turn, I had another scythe in hand. I had a Sorlet in hand, so I was able to throw out the Sorlet, switch foamy to attack, throw down scythe, nexus the spirits onto equal links, send it to 5 spirits, attack over the foamy, dealing the final 4 spirits to my opponent. He couldn't float with foamy, Sorlet finished it off. So while if I'd done the slower play, most likely I would have still won because I was so far ahead. But at the same time, just kind of going for the game there, taking advantage of the fact that I was up ahead on spirits to just deal more damage and set up a lethal a bit sooner, giving him less time to draw the out, I think was still the correct play there overall. And I still think even if he had been if the equal links had died, I still would have been fine, honestly, to keep going because I still had good cards in hand to just kind of continue running it over and just run more answers out of him anyway. So that is my defense for that situation. That is like the key moment there. I felt really good about that play and that it was a very good utilization of my resources and breaking down and reading what my opponent's deck still had and what I had seen. So that moment is a big highlight for me in that matchup. But I spent a lot of time on that. So let me kind of move on to the finals against Johnny. He did win all his matches, and it was rematch time, and I didn't know if I could do it. It was funny because Dan even announced at that point that there was going to be a prize, and I remember in my mind I was saying to myself, don't think about the prize, don't like put that pressure on yourself, just don't even think about it. So I cast that aside somehow. I'm not usually good at doing that, but I cast it aside and just focused on the game. And while I was nervous, I felt very good about it. I felt like I played very well, and that the only read I remember from that game where I was slightly wrong was I forgot that when I set up a Faloy Forest that Johnny Sprouter would gain an attack, so my Drataya ended up just crashing into it, but Drataya's dying anyway, so to me it's just like, the difference was whether Johnny would expend a spirit or not. So that was like the only misplay, but I still don't think it was technically a misplay. But regardless, I felt really good about that match, and and at the same time, I think it helped that Johnny and I have been playing for a while now, and we know each other, and it just made it so that I could calm down on that front as well and really focus on the gameplay. It felt it went really smoothly, and it was just a lot of fun to face Johnny as well. And I think I'd be saying that even if I lost, I still had a blast. I'd be disappointed that I lost, but I just enjoy playing against him, and it's really hyped to see in the finals us two be able to face off against each other. And I mean, I got redemption. That's the other fact. I'm so happy that I got the redemption as well. I know everyone was going wild. If you don't know, Johnny is considered the best player, and though he will say that he is just one of the best players, and that's just because he won the first unofficial tournament and has proven himself to be a real threat and a real challenge in the community time after time. So just I think it was more, I was very happy with my performance and getting my kind of getting in. What I'm trying to say is I was more, well, I'm happy that I won and got my redemption from Swiss. I think I was honestly just more happy to get a game that I felt really good in with Johnny to make up for just the very lackluster game from Swiss as well. And just be able to play him on that final stage was a real honor. Shout out to Johnny. He is an amazing player. Great guy to just have fun banter and games back and forth with, and yeah, that um, I I don't really have much else to say on that front. Quick interruption to the ramble here. Um, I don't know why this just I completely forgot it when talking about the finals against Johnny, but the triple Ambrosia game playthrough with the Jatai on the turn. That was a hype moment. I love seeing in stream dance reaction for that one, and that was a fun kind of maneuver to make. I was literally sitting there for a good majority of the game with Jataya and two Ambrosias in hand, and eventually going to the third Ambrosia, just waiting for that opportunity to feel comfortable, just dropping the Jataya and still being able to answer the board, and just with the Demeter in hand, and then being able to set up the forest, I was just like, oh, it's time, and pretty much did that. And so yeah, that was a fun play. And actually, in hindsight, slight misplay since Floy benefited both the Sprouter and my Jotaya. I should have actually held that because if I did, because Johnny specifically played his Volcanic Forge, misenchanted, but still plays Volcanic Forge later on to get rid of my Floy Forest. I didn't need it then, so I could have just waited and saved it and just kind of secured my victory a bit more by having that forest up there with the Tectoros, because that would have meant that Tectoros was 6 attack and Kinleo still wouldn't have it. Well, but then Johnny would have used one less spirit. So there's some give and take with that. It worked out in my favor in the end. But at the same time, just still that play that was a hype moment as well. Like just triple Ambrosia the Jataya. That's like the stuff that you see in every so often. You're just like, wow. So yeah, that I really don't know why I forgot about that. But anyway, back to the ramble as it was before I interrupted. I still just kind of get excited a bit, kind of like that tension, that anxiety I felt. It was just a really fun time overall. But also, I watched the stream back and it's fun seeing the chat. I didn't know this until my fiance walked in later and told me because she was watching the stream that they put up a poll in chat and I was the one that was favored to win. And I saw it kind of on two fronts there. I think part was because I was up one game when they announced it, or at least was looking better at the first game. I think it was after the first game. And then the other reason why was because fellow Celestial community member Jai and some other people were also um, in the chat, being like, Jacob, Johnny must lose, bring Johnny down. So I think from there end, it was just they want the quote unquote underdog to win here. So I'm happy I didn't disappoint them. And also thank you all for the support it did. It was really nice to see from the community as well, just people really excited to see Johnny and I playing, but also having my back there. So shout out to you all. And I think also at this point, I wanted to just shout out to everyone who organized the tournament. You all did a phenomenal job. It looked like overall it went really smoothly. Obviously, we talked about some things on the Steel Spirits podcast with Helen and Moxie, but it sounds like most of that was more focused on the prep than the actual tournament itself, which was really cool to see. It felt really smooth from a player perspective, and I am very appreciative for that opportunity and all the hard work you all put into it. And also, of course, shout out to Jan for making such an amazing game, being there to live stream the top 8. Thank you for the winning prize. I haven't received it yet, obviously, because it's the day after. Can't expect it to be overnight. But just thank you so much for that. That was really cool of you to do, even though you didn't need to. So, but really thankful for that as well. And I'm excited to open those booster packs and see some cool prototype cards. But that was, and also still just creating a fun game that we can have fun have tournaments for, and just kind of wrapping in, just generally being an awesome creator for this game, the likes of which I have not seen with many other projects as well. So shout outs there. But other than that from the final, I mean, obviously there's some fun moments there. Plays I really appreciated. I just kind of be repeating the same thing. I think I was very happy with my play there. I felt very satisfied with it as well. And I guess the final note I kind of want to say on that is, just because I won, please don't view me as the best player. It just meant that by a combination of luck and skill, I did come out on top there. And I was trying to figure out, I'm not, I appreciate the praise, but at the same time, like I appreciate all the like congratulations and such, but at the same time, I don't really want to be put up on a pedestal because honestly, at the end of the day, I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it and that I felt good. Again, I kept saying like I felt good about really understanding my deck because I really do enjoy learning them more than actually winning and feeling good about my decks. So in that respect, that's kind of why I don't want to be put up on a pedestal for it because it also puts a lot of pressure to kind of keep performing that I don't really want. And I, how I view it personally is, as I said, I don't think I'm the best player. I think I've proven that I am a good player, but at the same time, I just won one tournament. I don't think that necessarily proves anything. There's going to be plenty of people who beat me, and at the same time, I don't want to be known as that as well. I just want to be some guy who loves learning decks, who has fun playing against people at the end of the day. But still, with all that being said, though, thank you all for the congratulations. It really did mean a lot to see all that, even if I am saying I don't think I'm the best friend. Don't call that. Don't think I wasn't appreciative of all the kind of congratulations and all that as well. It was important to me to feel the warmth of the community and happy to be a part of that, and makes me just want to actually make more content and give back to it as well. So that's kind of my wrap ups on the tournament as well. As I said, I had some questions in front of me. I kind of been going off them as well, and I kind of discussed so just some general questions that I think I could highlight more. I kind of discussed my matchup breakdown just against mostly fire. It was like three or yeah, I already discussed this Swiss breakdown. I'm not going to try to remember all of that again. But the only deck I lost to was Johnny's fire deck. So I think my analysis of Earth versus Fire is still very accurate as well, and against Thunder. And I didn't really talk about Wind. Wind, that was a hard one. They have some good cards, but I think they still fall short against Earth, just because Earth does the typical game plan better, even though Wind has some really good cards as well. So, and then the whole like Seer Queen to Stratomoff, Earth also has a bit more answers to it, which I think also helps out as well. Then another good question was, which matchup was the most difficult? Fire, for the reason I said before, is it can just blow me out of the water if it gets in its hand, and I can't really do anything about it as a tempo deck. They just set the tempo, and that's that. Most fun matchup. Oh, is my webcam glitching? Oh, there you go. So yeah, I'm just going to keep that in. This is just me rambling off the top. But most fun matchup, again, Fire, because it's such a challenge to try to keep up with the tempo as it's a good deck. So I think both of them is a good answer for that. And ooh, this was a good question that I had Helen answer, and I don't remember if Moxie's part of it got cut out. It was what is one thing you would like to see changed for future tournaments? And that one, I don't know if I necessarily want to see it change, but I want to use this to kind of discuss. I'm not sure how I feel about the spirit differential. I think instead of changed, I'd like to see that refined. I don't know how personally. So I guess I more want this to just be a conversation, because my biggest concern with the spirit differential is that we'll end up getting so many cards that we'll see people bring decks, like stall decks, recover decks, where their goal isn't so much to play the game, it's to play the tournament. They're not trying to beat you, they're just trying to make you lose. And to me, that's not fun. If I'm playing a card game, if I'm playing at a tournament, it's because I want to play the game, not the tournament itself. And I have some concerns about how the spirit differential kind of plays into that. But at the same time, I trust that Dan's going to be working diligently on that, because I'm sure he wants everyone to play the game as well. I just think that that's definitely going to be a really important discussion moving forward. And then there's one thing, what did I learn from the tournament? That one, it was that part of it more personally was that I learned that I should be more confident in myself, that I can perform at that level. I can understand decks and matchups very well. There's still plenty more that I need to learn and improve, as this was only prototype deck. But I think in my attempts to be humble, I also do need to take more pride in my accomplishments and be more confident in my abilities as well. So that's just more of a personal note there from what I learned, but also learned, not exactly, kind of reminded me what I learned was just how amazing a community Elestrals is. I feel like I'm just kind of stealing some from Moxie, I think was when I also answered that, but he was right. We got a great community here, so it's nice to not necessarily learn it, but have a good reminder of having learned that from very early on. And then the final question was any other thoughts to share? And I really want to highlight this because this was cut from the Still the Spirits podcast. But Moxie had a really good point. Once we get to official tournaments like regionals, I totally agree with him. I would love to see a casters table, like one table that is always streamed throughout Swiss, and of course top eight will always get coverage, but like especially throughout Swiss that has commentators just talking about it and judges to monitor as well. I think that'd be really neat as well as a really good suggestion by him, and leads to a lot of cool stuff as well. I don't know where I cut that off because, well, I had to cut it there. But what I was saying was that I think it'd be really cool for the commenters to bring in people from the community to do so, like Pokemon, Vanguard, a lot of other really competitive tournaments bring in as well. That'd be really neat, and that's actually something I'd be really interested in doing is commentary. I mean, my content's pretty much just me commentating over gameplay. So to do that at an official Lestrals stage is, I think, at this point, a dream of mine if it ever would be. So like if there's going to be applications for that, I'm definitely applying for it. Or like if Dan ever sees this, I would love to be interested if you're willing to give me a chance. That would be a really fun experience. But all that, just the idea of like commentators, the potential that brings for tournaments, I think it would give good coverage, a good tournament scene for it. And I just really liked that proposal from Moxie as well. And I just also want to make this really quick comment on that. As some of you know, Moxie has been helping out with the game with card bounce, such he is under an NDA on certain things. He did say that in the podcast. But I want to make this clear: this whole kind of me commenting and us commenting on wanting the caster table and commentators and it being members of the community. None of us know anything on that. Well, I shouldn't say. I know nothing on it. I'm pretty sure Helen knows nothing on it. Moxie, even if he knows something on it, that was not him speaking from knowledge. That was him as a fan, completely separate of the NDA, anything that he's helping out with the Elestrals. That was him as a fan of the game saying he would love to see that. And same here, I agree with him. Helen agreed. And I think that is a phenomenal idea that we would love to see. So, yeah, I think that's about it for my wrap up for the tournament. It was a lot of fun. I hope to partake in more tournaments playing. I don't know how well I'll do with them. I'm going to try my best. I don't know if competitive is quite the thing for me, like full-on tournaments. It is a lot of pressure. I was very tense the entire day. Don't know if I love that feeling, but it's still fun, though. Fun to meet with people, so I am definitely going to give it a try. And I guess the other note would be that I don't know if I've always noticed that I'm someone who likes to learn the deck, but not necessarily master it to the fullest extent, like fully refine it to take to tournament. I kind of just get bored and want to try out new stuff, so that's the other reason why. But yeah, with all that being said, though, I think that's about it for this ramble. So if you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment whatever down below if you have questions for me, any comments. What did you think of the tournament? I always love the discussion down here. There isn't really a focus for it, so just kind of comment really whatever is relevant to like Elestrals or this video, and I love always seeing your comments. And of course, if you've been enjoying my content, hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell to be notified when I post more Elestrals content. Kind of going back to more review, I've got one series planned for, especially with Kickstarter coming out, and also for new players coming in, breaking down the start decks to really figure out which ones might be best for you. And then, of course, just a full breakdown of set 1 will also be coming, just me discussing all the cards with their supposed final effects, just to kind of, instead of having them spread throughout all the reveals, just have them all in one place. But my outro, as always, is very long. So with that being said, though, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload all that on top of gameplay, and I will see you in the next video.